we are live with our next Pharma Ledger panel. Welcome to our panel on COVID-19 data management. We have a very, very interesting setup here with five experts, on the topic. And I'm very glad to now give the word to Benedetto. Please go ahead and enjoy the panel.
Hello, everyone. Thanks you, Victoria, for introducing. I am Benedetto Biondi, project manager at Blockchain Italia, a software house based in Milan, which develops solutions with the blockchain technology. I'm very glad to be the moderator of this panel, during which we will discuss the opportunity that blockchains gives to the health sector, in particular to manage data in verifiable credentials for COVID-19. Let me firstly introduce our international and exceptional panel speakers. Here with us, we have Xavier Villa. He's the product manager at Validated ID. Hello, Xavier. Marco Cuomo. He's an applied technology innovation manager for Novartis, and he is also the architecture and reference implementation co-lead for Pharma Ledger Consortium. Hello, Marco. And also Heather Flannery. She is the founder and CEO of Consensus Health. Hello, Heather. And last but not least, Daniel Uribe. He is the founder and CEO of Genobank. During the last year, we have seen that the pandemic as a situation has forced us to stay at home for a very long time. And now the vaccination campaign has started, and it is mandatory to accelerate the international and socio-economic recovery. And at this moment, COVID-19 credential for vaccination and testing has been the very hot topic. We all of us want to back to normal life, but it's quite difficult. In this sense, blockchain technology and the DLTs can help to transfer the data shared between governments and business to help to protect the privacy and of the individual and to help us to back to normal life. So I would like, first of all, to ask Xavier. He's from Validated ID. I know that he's directly, Validated ID is directly interested into digital credential and identities. Xavier, please introduce yourself and a bit what you are doing with Validated ID.
Hi, Benedetto. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here today. Well, it's always a privilege for me and for us to be able to discuss about what we do and what we like to do. And of course, it's an honor to share the floor with this highly talented panel. So thank you very much. And well, as a product manager at Validated ID, well, what do we do actually? Validated ID is a trust in Europe, what they're called a trust service provider, and we provide I like to say highly secure B2B services for electronic signatures, but also for electronic invoices and decentralized identity and SSI. So the objective is try to make our customer, we try and we hope we do, try to make our customers' life easier when they have to deal with all these services, right? And because background about me, and well, one of the main reasons I started working on in this project actually at Validated ID was that the idea, that there was a new technology, not only technology, but it was driven maybe by technology, blockchain, SSI, that was potentially enabling a new way of dealing with our data and our relations in the digital world, no? And actually, something that until now.
Thank you, Xavier. I also would like to ask you specifically if at Validated ID you are doing something specific for COVID-19 verifiable credential, and if you can tell us something.
Actually, well, we are supporting initiatives, actually, like the CCI, which is the COVID Credentials Initiative, and we're participating also in the Good Health Pass. And definitely we're closely following the work undertaken by the WHO about the smart vaccination certificates. And the main reason of that is that we don't want to tackle the cross-border interoperability challenge, actually. And since because our objective is to be able to help health authorities, public and private health providers, partners, and customers with with the right tools and the framework to provide high trusted and secure identity services. So what they're doing is, well, I think that you might already know, but the current status of both the Digital Green Pass and the WHO proposal is to rely on, well, to rely on public infrastructure to provide the root of trust. And we believe that could evolve to a more user-centric approach that would be using verifiable credentials, and definitely will be helping our partners to go that way.
Thank you so much, Javier, for this brief introduction of you and how validated ID is actually helping this topic. Now I would like to give the words to Marco. Marco is part of the Pharma Ledger consortium, which is aiming to revolutionize actually the health supply chain by merging different actors under a unique trusted layer. Marco, can you tell us something about yourself and also about this Pharma Ledger and how is aiming to address these COVID-19 issues?
Sure. Thanks, Benedetto, for the quick introduction. So my name is Marco Cuomo. I'm working for Novartis 15 and a half years. And the last 4 years, I'm responsible for blockchain, or I try to find use cases for Novartis, how to use blockchain in an enterprise environment. So we're not so focused on cryptocurrencies and these hype things. We try to find things around blockchain, around enterprise solutions, which blockchain could be a good technology to help solve solutions. And that's also the way, and that's also why we started basically 3 years ago to think how we can use blockchain. Blockchain alone makes not a lot of fun. You need an ecosystem, so it's a team sport. You need other people around you, other companies. And that's why we started to create something, and that's called Pharma Ledger. So Pharma Ledger is a consortium with 12 pharma companies, 8 of the top 10 pharma companies in there, and 17 public partners, which are universities, startup companies, hospitals, etc., with the goal to build the blockchain platform for the healthcare industry. As we know that a platform alone is not really funny. We said we need also use cases. So we also defined at the end 8 use cases to showcase the potential of that platform.
Okay, thank you very much, Marco. And now I would like to give the words to Heather. Welcome, Heather, to the panel. Could you please tell us something about Consensus Health? I know Consensus Health builds Ethereum-based solution for healthcare industry. So please give us a brief of introduction, overview, and Consensus Health. Thank you.
Certainly, Benedetto. Thank you. It's a great honor to be a part of this conversation with such esteemed panelists. Lovely to be here today. My name is Heather Flannery. I'm the founder and chief executive officer of Consensus Health. Consensus is spelled with a Y to keep you on your toes. And we are a commercially independent spinoff from Consensus AG, which is a large pure play blockchain company that's made substantial contributions to the advancement of the field over time. Personally, in addition to my role leading Consensus Health, I also am the chair of the blockchain task force at the Health Information Management Systems Society, or HIMSS. I chair the healthcare interest group at the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, and I chair a standard in development at the intersection of blockchain, healthcare, and life sciences, and machine learning particularly, at IEEE, which is P2418.6, which is looking at blockchain AI convergence for healthcare. And that combination of activities actually are all complementary and get to the big picture view that Consensus Health is taking on industry transformation. We are building what we consider to be next generation global critical infrastructure for humanity. And we are particularly focused on enabling a transition to person-centeredness that involves governance, autonomy, agency, privacy, dignity of the individual with respect to their use and access of health and health relevant information about themselves. And this transformation is highly relevant to enterprises and governments who all in our industry wish to engage with patients and to do good, which is why we're all in this industry. So Consensus Health is building a platform that is intended to serve, to be run by blockchain consortia, and also building a portfolio of products and supporting an ecosystem of third-party product providers who might wish to run on our platform, if you will. Importantly, we strongly believe in interoperability at every layer of the stack as being a top priority, and avoiding vendor lock-in as another top priority. So we actually, we are certainly centered on the Ethereum ecosystem, but we are building solutions on other protocols and establishing cross-chain interoperability for things like the ability to transfer value between blockchains, the ability to have identities and decentralized identity methods interoperate. So those are some of our priorities that are germane to the subject of this panel, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Heather. I agree with you totally. Every one of us is trying to give a bit of good to this world by helping the situation of COVID-19. And the last one that wants to introduce is Daniel. Please actually introduce yourself and also tell us about your solution provided by Genobank and what you are doing in this product, the difficulties that you are facing, and how it's going.
Thank you very much, Benedetto. It's also a pleasure and an honor to be here with all of you with this very important forum now being broadcast in Europe. So I've been working with my team like this last 3 years. A lot of you maybe have seen me holding this prototype, which is the one that has put us until now. This is a saliva kit, right? That is paired with a blockchain based wallet, right? That the main mission is to put the donors in control over their biosamples and their residual data. So we are very proud to be pushing or promoting the use of NFTs, the non-fungible tokens, to represent biodata. So we think we have the first bio NFTs use cases around the world, and hopefully, obviously, won't be the last one. We want to promote that, and we are very, very happy to be here to talk about specifically the COVID-19 test, which is in essence an RNA test. So it involves obviously a biosample, and we're very, very proud to be here. Thank you very much, Benedict.
Thank you very much to you, Daniel. Since you have mentioned the NFT that you are using as solution, I would like to ask the opinion about everyone over this topic. That everyone knows that NFT in these days is the hot topic of blockchain. So how do you think that this can help solving the COVID-19 issue? Also, thanks, Daniel, for sharing your product and what you're doing, but also for the others. How do you think some roads that NFT could take and how actually they could be used?
Maybe if I can...
Yeah, you can add more.
Okay, thank you very much. So our NFT is basically, or we think the NFTs, the most valuable proposition they have is like authenticity or provenance, right? This is a token that is usually generated with the signature of the author, right? If we're talking about like crypto art or a collectible, right? In our case, we consider our DNA or our RNA or whatever biosample, let's say a biological, artistical kind of asset, right? Where only you can have one author that is the origin of this sample. Or, well, maybe if you have a twin, that would be a little bit different, but, or an exception. So our NFT represents, in case of DNA, for instance, a specific unique variant in your DNA, and we tokenize that to allow users to establish ownership and control over that specific data sets, right? These are very easy to re-identify. And we think that your biosamples is your bio property, in this case, in the digital metaverse. And that's how we justify. Lastly, we have another NFT that is inspiring the GDPR law. This it represents permission over the use of this specific data. And in our use case, researchers becomes collectors of these permission tokens from donors in order to use their data in a GDPR kind of framework.
Yeah, wow, this is actually very great. Thank you very much, Daniel, for sharing. Anyone who would like some interesting point of view about NFT over healthcare? Go ahead,
Sure.
please. You.
I'll jump in there. Daniel, it's wonderful seeing Genobank's accomplishments with NFTs and what you've done so far. I think it might be helpful to differentiate a little bit for an audience who may not be aware of the relationship between a verifiable credential and an NFT, and how those things relate to one another and how they interplay. Whether, if you're talking about decentralized identities or methods of implementing decentralized identities and verifiable credentials, both of those are fixed and finite in what they are and what they can do. When you apply those kinds of technologies and add non-fungible tokens or NFTs into them, they cease to be fixed and finite. You can use that token to accumulate and aggregate metadata, provenance data, to use it to assemble longitudinally a potentially growing data set. You can link and hierarchically relate these things. And importantly, you have created digital scarcity. And that enables the possibility of trading data as a new asset class. And with combining the technologies that all of us on this panel are working on and thinking about, we have the opportunity to create ethically intentional data markets that bring the data subject into economic transactions, and empowering them further in their ability to engage in the healthcare system. So because NFTs can model rich data, big data, growing data, NFTs can become personal, meaningful. They can connect to a person's psychology in a way that something very abstract and dry may not be able to. So there's a long way that we have to go with NFTs in the healthcare industry, but there's really enormous potential in how that can work to engage health consumers, to educate, to gamify. Very, very interesting work ahead.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you very much. Actually, I see in the chat there is a question directly for you. If you would like to answer right now, or we keep it for later. The question is by Ines Cruz to Heather. I wonder how changes to the Ethereum protocol or other public blockchains such as hard forks, gas fees, fluctuation, and bigger updates would impact the functioning of critical health services related operations.
I'm happy to take that now. I'll be brief so I don't take too much airtime, but thank you for the terrific question. As in our world, we view the Ethereum mainnet as a critical neutral backstop in a healthcare future that involves many blockchains and many protocols. And the evolution of the Ethereum mainnet through ETH 2.0, through ZK rollups, through many tactics that are playing out in ETH 2.0, what we're really looking at is that today's Ethereum mainnet will be one shard of the future Ethereum. And we have many scaling techniques that will allow private enterprise networks to be hierarchically bridged and tethered up stages to the ultimate mainnet as a backstop. And that's without ever storing sensitive health information on a public chain or even a private chain for that matter. So the models that use gas fees need to rely on something called meta transactions, and increasingly work that needs to be offloaded into bridged or tethered private side chains that can be ephemeral. They can simply appear when counterparties wish to do business and be retired when they don't, depending on the infrastructure. So there's a lot of potential being created at the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. The ETH 2.0 working group is focused on this, and we're bringing what it means to healthcare into that working group, and also on Baseline Protocol, which is a critical open source project that we're contributors to, looking at how to use the Ethereum mainnet as an enterprise messaging bus. So when we talk about tightly coupled off-chain, we can mean both off private chain and off public chain, and in between in these hybrid environments. So lots of value being created in that area.
Thank you very much, Heather. It was, I guess, a very exhausting answer from you. I will keep the question all for later, but I just see that there is one that is for all the panelists, so I will address to all of us. And it's by Pablo Lopez. What's your opinion about the consideration of common interest of health data for research purpose? So you have access. So you have no access to know how they are them being used and for what. Do you find ethical to receive money from your data, This is a very nice question. Who would like to answer to this?
Maybe I can start. As you know, I'm from a pharma company, Novartis. This is always a big topic. How do we get to the data, to information? And we think that in the future, this is a good way to get to a lot of information when we somehow reward in one or the other way the patients or other people to share data for research purposes or for development purposes. And I think it's a good return. The question is how much and what, and how look the platform. So we have this ideas of this, or not we, the industry talks a lot about health data markets, which is exactly that you can share, or you can put your data there and you get something back for it. Whatever that is, that could be money, that could be other incentives, but the industry is very much interested to get that money. And we know also from surveys that a lot of people are interested to share their data if they know something positive is done with that. So we have a lot of feedback, especially from patients. They are interested in sharing their data. So yes, this is interesting. Yes, this is a topic, and yes, this is something to look into it. And the ethical point here, I guess, is I think it's a win-win, because you share your data, and in a return you expect as a longer term something back, a new medicine, a new solution for helping people. So that's just my view on it.
Thank you, Marco. Anyone else who would like to ask something over this question proposed by Pablo?
Yeah, if I may jump in, I think that, well, as I believe, when I think that like Marco was saying, when this is for common interest. I think that it's a win-win, because we as individuals and we as a society, we benefit for sharing this data and for research purposes, and finally, well, in order to be better, because we are getting this data to improve any kind of treatment, or, well, name it. The only thing that I would add to this is that we should be very careful about how we are creating these data pools, because it's well known that despite the fact that we have, and there are good ways of anonymizing data and make it pseudonymous or whatever, there have been several experiments or tests, or you name it, that show that it's very easy to also to anonymize data that is meant to be anonymous. So I would just to make a heads up on, yes, I think it's very interesting, and it's really a win-win, but I think that we should take care on how we do implement all these data pools, and how do we create these data sets that are related to each of us.
May I react to that?
Yeah, please help.
Just in brief, couldn't agree with you more about the caution through which we need to approach this. But we also have to recognize that we have new technology that is changing what's possible. So for example, data sharing in our industry historically has meant you get copies of data, you then custody that data, you retain that data, you govern that data, you incur all the liability and compliance risk related to that data, and that nothing can happen in our industry unless you obtain copies of data and you centralize it somehow. Our family of technologies, not only blockchain, but converging with confidential computing and federated computing, means that it is no longer necessary to share data in order to derive value from data. Instead, we can bring the algorithms to where the data is. We can enable data to be computed upon without being exchanged. And we can use cryptographic verifications of everything about that data, including what jurisdiction, what kind of consent, and everything along those lines. So in the future, the need to exchange copies of information, copies of data, I believe is going to become an exception case. And the rule will be computation, federated compute that's blockchain facilitated and privacy preserving. And we must break out of the mental model that we have right now, where we believe that everything is about a data exchange from point to point, and it's simply no longer necessary.
Thank you very much, Heather. Very, very insightful. So we are talking about the data sharing. So thinking about this, what is the best protocol to adopt, public or private? I'm meaning about these two categories for healthcare, for a more efficient way to implement this solution for COVID-19 and the verifiable credential and sharing the data. What is your opinion? This is a question open to everyone, obviously.
Maybe I'm starting.
Yeah, please.
I think it's not a question whether public or private is the right one. It depends on the use cases. I think there's a lot of use cases where public is a need, is a must. But I can tell you from a pharma lecture, at the moment, we are going more in a hybrid model. Means for certain use cases, we have the situation that we say everyone should have access to the blockchain, so no limitation there. But we don't want that everyone can write to the blockchain. So, so you have to create a kind of onboarding of members. In some concrete use case, it would say only manufacturers can write new information on it, but everyone can read from it. And then another reason also why we start more in this model is the costs. When we would go, let's say, for Ethereum, then there is already costs involved. Each transaction costs you a bit of gas. In a private or a hybrid environment, you control that better. And in Pharma Ledger, we also try to be technology agnostic from a blockchain point of view. That means if we find out later that a public or another protocol is better, we are able to, let's say, switch, let's say, in a relative easy way from one technology to another. But coming back, for me, it's not public or private is better. It depends on the use case. So a lot of enterprise use cases, I think they will go in a hybrid private, but there are also many others which I think public is a must.
Thank you, Marco. Anyone else would like to share some ideas over this point?
I will. Okay. I agree with Marco, and I would add to that as the technology is evolving, the distinction between public and private and hybrid is itself dissolving. And in a couple of years, that won't be a meaningful distinction any longer in the way that it is today, because our ability to have fine-grained control over multiple layers of the technology is quickly evolving. But there's no doubt that abstraction layers are very important. Abstraction layers to different hardware dependencies, different cryptographic methods, different blockchain protocols. So building software that is designed for that kind of modularity is super critical right now, because our industry cannot risk being locked into technology that's not functioning when life and death is on the line. So we must, we're obligated to take those positions.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to add something on this point, since in Blockchain Italia, we have our new product is My Health Passport, and it aims to give verifiable credential for COVID-19 vaccine and testing certificate. So we had this, it is a across blockchain platform we can integrate with whether it is private or public blockchain. Right now we use Algorand, which is permissionless. And we have been thinking that since we are not integrating into any healthcare like on a higher perspective, such as national or regional, we are trying to, it is better to begin with the permissionless blockchain protocol for us, since in Italy it has a legal value to register the data into the blockchain. We actually never register the data clearly, but just the hash, that is the unique digital fingerprint of the document. And this, from my point at the beginning, to use a permissionless blockchain, it can be helpful in the way that it is helping the verification itself, since you just go on the Explorer and you can check that this document was registered by this person at this time, and no one can ever doubt of this. This is my point over it.
May I add something to this point about the different DLTs? I think that maybe I fully agree with what you said, Heather and Marco. I think that it's the strategy of being resilient and being able to work with whatever technology stack we have under us. It's the best way to go. That being said, well, I think that we'll still have some time to get there, and I believe, well, it's just an idea that at the beginning we might see in the short term some permission networks take the lead on some use cases, and the reason about that, I think that it's because of a matter of trust or fear about the technology. There are a lot of we've been trying to spin up some proof of concept with public administration, and the fact that there is I think I can say that there's a fear of not controlling, the idea of that you're using an infrastructure that is not under your control is something that is pushing back, I think, that some players. And I think that's one of the good things, or well, that depends on how you see it, about this European blockchain service infrastructure that is being built in Europe. That we, by the way, we are participating to develop and to deploy it. I think that this can drive. This can be a driver, actually. The fact that, well, that countries, at least in Europe and member states, are able to deploy. It's not a private. It's a permission public blockchain. But the idea that they are in control and they are pushing and they are showing that it's possible and that it's doable and it doesn't hurt when you use it, I think it's gonna help us. But I think it's gonna, maybe it's needed, this very first step of showing everybody that it's possible.
Thank you very much, Xavier. So I would like to ask one more question to all of you, and it's about what difficulties and barriers you see in your country where you are working to implement this blockchain solution for healthcare and COVID-19 issues. Yeah, Daniel, please go.
Thank you very much. Well, just because I originally come from Mexico, and we start having a lot of troubles in terms of the cloning of these COVID-19 certificates, specifically for traveling. As you may know, obviously Mexico or Mexicans are really into traveling to the United States, and United States citizens are really a very, I mean, they visit Mexico a lot, specifically like Cancun and all over other tourists, right? We depend on tourism a lot as a country. But recently we have had some stories about the cloning, and some laboratories report that even 1 out of 5 of their COVID-19 test results are being cloned. And we just found, like in early February, a story of, like, this is one of the iconic stories because it was all over the news. 99 students from Argentina went to Cancun. They had a good time there, and then in order to return to Argentina, they had to have a proof of negative COVID-19 test. And the bad surprise is that when they arrived to Argentina, they were tested, and the 99 students were positive or they had the COVID-19. They were sick, or at least they were carriers of the virus. So obviously the question was, where did they obtain all that COVID-19? And it turns out that it was a fake laboratory. And this was a scandal. So I just posted the story in the text chat of the conference, if somebody is curious. So in February 4, we established a relationship with the first laboratory in Mexico to issue tamper-proof blockchain certificates. So to answer your question, Mexico has been very, very generous with us. Now we signed with more than 65 laboratories. We are integrating with them one at a time because they have different systems. But now we are issuing these credentials, right? This is a laboratory cryptographic signature for lab representatives. This is only for the people who signs these documents, who are authorized to sign, right? So we're giving what we call a decentralized laboratory ID to them. So this is for people who needs to sign. So we are substituting an autograph, which can be cloned as an image, for a cryptographic signature based on Ethereum. And so they can sign their own certificates using Genobank's platform. And that is preventing, obviously it's a QR code and it stamps in the blockchain. So it has the signature of the laboratory director. It has the Genobank signature. It has the timestamp of the test and obviously the result of the test. Everything is hashed, as you were saying. This is not private information in the chain. And people just keeps the QR code. They can present it at the airport or the point of entry. Somebody can verify, and not even the laboratories keeps this as record. I mean, so this is the zero copy mode kind of certification. Genobank holds no information, no personal information in the blockchain, no personal information in the laboratories. And we believe this is the way to go. We don't want governments to have this information. We don't want airport authorities to have this information. We don't want enterprise cloud solutions to have these passports. It's only a relationship between the laboratory and the patient and no one else. And Genobank allows this to do that. And so Mexico has been, now Mexico, Colombia, Nigeria, and Chile is calling us. So we've been very fortunate.
This is a great job, Daniel. Thank you for your answer. Anyone else would like to answer, to respond to the topic of difficulties and barrier encountered for the development of blockchain-based solution?
I go.
Go, Xavier.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we have seen, at least when preparing to deploy some of these related projects, is that well, it's a very used and repeated reason, but it's still today, right? Which is the interoperability challenge. Actually, I think that we when dealing with these passes or vaccine reports or passports, or depends on the name that you decided, we would like that if you take
Xavi, can you increase your voice a bit? Sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. Maybe I'm a little far away from the microphone. Let me see. So one of the reasons are these, we want to use these vaccines or these passes across countries, actually. So if you get vaccinated or you have a PCR test in one country where you want to travel, so you want that from one country to another, it works actually. So you start getting into a very complicated problems of how do you do things. And hopefully, well, there are these different supranational organizations like the WHO, and at least in Europe, well, now maybe we'll have two different ways of doing the same thing, and the Digital Green Pass, they're proposing, okay, let's say to do thing in only one way at least, so that the same information can travel across countries. But even though, well, we need that everybody accepts and starts implementing the solution the same way. And I think that's, well, one of the biggest, riskiest challenges to these solutions to be successful and widely adopted and useful at the end.
Thank you, Xavi. Thank you very much. From my side, I would like also to comment over this topic, since we are implementing this new solution that aims to give the verifiable credential. And okay, in Italy, it's already easier since we have a legal value of the timestamp due to permissionless, the recording over data on a permissionless blockchain. And a very big deal from our side is to deal with bureaucracy of public healthcare. In Italy, healthcare is public, so it is always very long and difficult to fight this routine, let's say, and the solution is needed fastly. The vaccination are happening now, and it would be very, very easier if bureaucracy could be faster and accept such a new technology as blockchain it is. And I also think that the problem might be let me use the word ignorance over the blockchain technology of people in general, even of politicians, because if they could understand easily what is behind and how blockchain is helping in good for the solution over these issues, this could be much faster for implementing for any of the protocol actually developed on blockchain. So I guess we are in time for the questions. I see we have different. Oh,
Could I?
Yeah, please go.
Could I just react to the barriers question?
Yeah,
really
yes, sure, Heather, thank you.
I would like to highlight another category of blocker that our industry faces, and that has to do with financial capital formation, who underwrites risks and ensures these new infrastructures. How are these things paid for? By whom? How do we even forecast the costs in order to create a business case, to assemble the capital? So there's if you imagine, following on Marco's comment, that this is a team sport, well, what the team has to do is abstract from within the enterprises and government's IT organizations, processes that currently live in these splintered ways, and bring them up into a new shared infrastructure, of which blockchain is probably, what, maybe 10 or 15% of the total technology stack that needs to be assembled for this new class of infrastructure. Those team members on that team sport have to determine how they're going to govern that, who is going to pay for it, who will absorb the risk and liability connected to it, and how does that work within every jurisdiction around the world. And for global parties, that is an enormous barrier. And so as there's, if you're new to the blockchain space and you're not a technologist, maybe if you're a finance professional or a lawyer, you have a lot to contribute here as well.
Maybe to add, Benedetto, if to what Heather said, we experience now more and more within, I mean, again, I can only speak for Novartis, the situation that there was a lot of hype the last couple of years, not only blockchain, also AI, and the management, especially the senior management, a lot of promises went to them. And they say now, very easy, prove it, show it. And in blockchain, we have a little bit of a problem if we come and say, give us a few millions, and they say, okay, and then what? Yeah, okay, it's a new technology. I'm not sure if it's working. That's not very convincing. It's the time where we have to show it, that the promises we did in the last couple of years, that they are somehow fulfilled. Doesn't matter of the technology. For senior management, just show it, prove it. And that's why I think solutions like this Genobank are very interesting, because here we can say, look, it works. There's the first thing out there, it works. And that is helpful, because at the end of the day, no one will change all the existing infrastructure, processes, people, institution, just for a few percentage. We have also to show them it's a magnitude, it's 10 times better, whatever, faster, cheaper, whatever it is. It needs something where we can show that the investment, the risk you go for it, that this is worth it. For 1%, 2%, or 5%, no one will take it. The whole supply chain, infrastructure, I mean, the process is, no one will change that for a few percentage. But for a magnitude of 10 times, yes, they are willing. But we have to prove it. And the Genobank is a good example. It works. Now let's do the other things.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Marco.
I will move to the question now, if you all agree. So I see there is one for Daniel. Maybe you answered already in your talks before, but by Javier. How do you deal with the personal data privacy on blockchain? This is for you, Daniel.
Yes, thank you very much. So we believe again in the GDPR kind of framework. So we minimize the data. So this, like for instance, this I mean, first in the case of the genetic test, we only tokenize 96 SNPs. Remember that usually a human has between 4 and 5 million SNPs, right? I am talking about genetic variants. So we only use 96 SNPs. This approach is done by the industry in order to fingerprint or DNA fingerprint biosamples. So by all means, we do not intend to use this technology to identify humans, but we want humans to identify their biosamples and their biosample data using the minimum genetic information. Is a small, it's a very, very small sample from SNPs, from genetic data. Nevertheless, we hash it. So, and we use zero knowledge proofs in order to, and Bloom filters in order to preserve the privacy of this even small fingerprint. So we never will print your sequence or your SNPs on the blockchain. That would be super bad for privacy. And then in the COVID-19 test, we only hash the document. So it's very similar approach from other projects, like for instance from validated ID from Javier, and obviously the data is obfuscated and it's not shown in the transaction. So Genobank only references transactions, and the data is only crossed between the patient and the laboratory as today. I mean, it's a very private relationship, and it's very protected and very regulated all around the world. So we have small concerns there. We have concerns if this information is starting to be shared with governments and airlines, which some of the projects once or I've heard. Maybe I need to learn a little bit more, but that wouldn't be a good idea, in my opinion, or as a citizen, right, to start sharing this information.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm sure you answered the question very, very good. I see another question here, I guess is for everyone, by Claudia Polimanti. Creating our digital twin, is it going to give us more freedom or the other way around? Interesting question. Who wants to answer?
Okay. I'll answer. I'll try to be really, really quick. I think that we have a massive risk of governmental or corporate hegemony over, over the ability to control humanity in ways that we don't wish. It means that we must pursue systems of self-sovereignty at the same time that this technology is evolving. And also that means the ability for custodial relationships, delegations of authorities. It means that there are new institutions that don't presently exist today that will need to come into being in order to correct the asymmetry of power between individuals and large bureaucracies. And we need to be extremely careful as we proceed. Yeah.
Thank you, Heather. I see a question for Xavier. We have a few minutes if you want to answer fastly. How does validated that the wallet works? It's by Daniel Salmeron.
Okay, well, nice question. Well, it works as most of the SSI wallets that you might find out in the market. So the idea is that you can have several keys that are that you control on the wallet, and the idea is that you can store what we call verifiable credentials for those that do not know what self-sovereign identity is. And the idea is that you keep credentials with claims that third parties do about tell about yourself, and you're able to, well, keep it private. Nobody else has access to it and encrypt it. And then you just decide what do you want to share when you're interacting. Well, usually it's in a digital way but it's but can be triggered in a physical interaction, when you're going through a boarding gate and somebody is asking you to share your COVID credentials, for instance, and then you decide how and what information do you want to share. So the idea is that, like in crypto, you have these crypto wallets that you control what happens with your money. The idea is that these SSI wallets do the same.
Thank you very much, Xavier. I'm seeing in the chat we have many comments of thank you and compliments for all of you speakers. I want to thank Victoria for having us on this panel. This was a very great opportunity to know all of us better and share. And thanks for you speakers for sharing your knowledge and experiences over time. I guess we are about to close. So let me check. Okay. There is one more question. I can read it fastly by Celine. By building solution like blockchain health passports, are you not contributing to restricting people's freedom to travel? Who would like to answer this?
Very quickly.
Yeah.
I think that yes and no. It's a very good question, but I think that the benefits are much higher than the risks, and I think that there are risks, of course, that there are some events that lead to people to coerce their freedom. But I would add that if we start doing this at the time that everybody is able to access to a vaccine, I think that we all win. It's a win-win, actually, because we can travel and we are protecting our health as a community, actually.
Thank you again, Xavier. I guess we are about to finish. So thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Heather. Thanks, Victoria, again, for letting us being part of this very interesting panel. I guess everyone can reach us for ask more information and anything they would like more to know about our companies and products. And wish you all the best. Let's hope to solve this problem and help the world by our technology. And thank you very much. Bye-bye.